My name was Mira Locke when I first learned what silence could do to a child. Not regular silence. This one pressed against my ribs and made my breath feel borrowed. I was 10 years old when I wrote in my diary, "If they never give me a place at the table, one day I will build my own." This story is an original creation by the writing team of the Revenge World channel, inspired by the hidden corners of family life, and told with the purpose of fostering emotional connection and spreading understanding. I remember sitting cross-legged on the cold floor outside my parents' bedroom, clutching that diary. Inside, voices rose and fell, my mother's sharp, my father's tired, my siblings laughing in the background like none of it mattered. Cambria's voice floated through the crack in the door. "Why is she always here?" "She is so strange," Dorian added. "She watches people like a stray cat." "It is creepy." My mother exhaled. "She needs to stop lingering. It makes guests uncomfortable." Every word slid under my skin. I hugged the diary tighter. The door opened, and my father stepped out. He looked down at me as if surprised I existed. "Mira, stop listening at doors. It is unbecoming." I was not. "Do not argue," he said flatly, brushing past me. I wrote the final line of that entry with shaking hands. "One day, none of them will speak over me again. If moments like this have ever sat heavy on your chest, share where you are listening from. Your stories matter here, and I read every single one." 18 years passed before I stepped into Locke Tower again, but the silence inside me sounded exactly the same. I had become Aria Locke now, not the girl they pushed to the edges. Still, when the elevator doors slid open, I felt the old weight settle across my shoulders. Reginald Locke did not greet me. He never had. He looked up from the long table and said, "Sit. We do not have time for dramatics." Celeste Locke sat beside him, posture perfect, eyes already disapproving. "Your timing is inconvenient. Aria, the family is under strain." Cambria leaned back in her chair, scrolling her phone. She always makes things harder. Dorian smirked. At least she showed up. Miracles do happen. I pulled out the chair slowly. "Your assistant said this was mandatory." Reginald's jaw tightened. "It is." The reputation of Locke International Hospitality cannot withstand any more instability. Your lifestyle reflects on us. My lifestyle. My voice stayed even. You drift. You travel. You post frivolous content, Celeste said. People think you have no roots. That image damages the Locke brand, Cambria added. We work. You wander. Dorian folded his arms. You have become a liability. I met each stare, one by one. So this is not a meeting. It is a verdict. Reginald slid a stack of papers toward me. You are being removed from the family trust. Effective immediately. Every line of childhood silence pressed in again, but it did not crush me this time. I placed my hand on the documents. If this is the decision, then say it plainly. Celeste's eyes flickered. We are protecting the family. You no longer fit. Their voices faded for a moment. Only my heartbeat felt real, steady, and certain. Reginald tapped the documents as if they were nothing more than a routine contract. Sign at the bottom. The trust will be restructured without you. Dorian let out a low laugh. Look at her face. She did not think we would actually do it. Cambria lowered her phone just long enough to smirk. This is what happens when you refuse to grow up. Aria. I kept my fingers steady on the pen. All of you made this decision together. Celeste tilted her head, expression cool. We considered the alternatives. Removing you was the only responsible choice. Responsible, I repeated softly. Reginald leaned forward. You will return the Locke Black card before you leave the building. It belongs to the family, not to you. The last tether. The final symbol of the place I once tried to belong to. I reached into my bag, set the card on the table, and pushed it toward him. The plastic clicked sharply against the surface. No one reacted. Not a thank you. Not a goodbye. I signed my name, Aria, not Mira, and slid the papers back. Reginald exhaled, relieved. Good. This will stabilize things. I stood. For you. Perhaps, Cambria murmured. Finally. Their satisfaction settled thick in the room, but it did not touch me. I had already stepped beyond the version of myself they thought they could erase. I walked out of Lock Tower without looking back. The moment the doors closed behind me, a black SUV pulled to the curb as if it had been tracking my pulse. The driver stepped out and opened the door. Good evening, Ms. Locke. The route is set. My father had just erased me, yet someone still spoke my name with respect. I slid inside. The door shut with a muted thud. Soft, certain. Nothing like the sharp click of the black card on their table. My phone buzzed. A notification from my secure system lit the screen. Nomad Nexus. Series C round completed. $280 million confirmed. I exhaled slowly. When I left home at 18, they assumed I drifted because I had nowhere to be. They never imagined I built something in the spaces they dismissed. As the SUV moved through the city, my chief operations officer called. Aria, the board wants you on the next review call. Expansion in 18 countries is stretching our regional leads thin. I will handle it, I said. Lock in a meeting for tomorrow morning. There was a pause. You sound calm. Did the family meeting go as expected? Every part of it, I replied. The call ended, and with it came a heavy, familiar quiet. Success carried its own kind of silence. It did not bruise like the old one, but it pressed against me just the same. The driver glanced at me in the mirror. Straight to the airfield. Yes. I rested my head against the seat. They believed they had cut away a burden. They had no idea the woman leaving their tower was the one quietly holding the power they depended on. And I intended to use it. 1 month after leaving Lock Tower, the reports began arriving in my private inbox. At first, they were small warnings, occupancy slipping, guest complaints rising. Then, the numbers sharpened into something unmistakable. My chief finance officer called late one evening. Aria, Lock International just posted another decline. Occupancy dropped from 78% to 41% in less than a year. I kept my voice steady, and their debt timeline unchanged. $96 million due in 120 days. They are leveraging one property to pay interest on another. It is a shell game. A second notification appeared as we spoke a clipped article from a hospitality magazine. Cambria Lock faces backlash after sudden housekeeping cuts. I skimmed the headline. Of course she did. The CFO hesitated. Do you want me to stop the monitoring reports? This is personal. No, I said. Keep them coming. 2 weeks later, another alert surfaced, this one accompanied by security footage from a downtown auto shop. Dorian Locke crashes company-owned Mercedes SL. Damages exceed $300,000. Lawsuit pending. My operations director sighed during our call. They are unraveling. Are you planning to intervene? Not yet. And when? When the timing ends the guesswork. I closed the laptop, letting the darkness of my loft settle around me. The Locks continued attending charity galas, posing beneath chandeliers, borrowing jewelry they could not afford. The world still believed in their empire, but I had access to the data beneath the shine. Their kingdom was fracturing in slow motion, and every crack brought them one step closer to the moment they would need something far more costly than money. They would need me. 14 months after they cut me out. My phone rang with a name I had not spoken aloud in years. Celeste Locke. I let it ring until the fourth vibration before answering. Aria speaking. Her voice was clipped, brittle. Your father is unwell. Stress has affected his heart. We must discuss the estate. Saturday evening, 7 o'clock. The Dominion Grand. Not a request. Still a command. I said, I will be there, and ended the call before she could reclaim control of the conversation. Within minutes, I tapped my legal director's contact. Pull the complete lock debt file. Every note, every covenant, every default. He hesitated. There is a lot to uncover. Are you preparing a move? I am preparing a conclusion. I hung up and sent a message to my operations strategist. Activate the SPV review. Quietly. The reply arrived instantly. Understood. On Saturday afternoon, I entered the Dominion Grand through a side entrance. A staff member recognized me and straightened nervously. Ms. Locke. Welcome. I nodded and walked past. The lobby's muted lights revealed worn edges where opulence used to sit effortlessly. A concierge whispered to another employee about extended shifts. Someone had stripped the fresh flowers, leaving only stems in polished vases. I stepped into the private elevator. When the doors opened, my family was already seated around a long table. Reginald looked smaller somehow, thinner, the stiffness in his posture held together by pride alone. Dorian glanced at me with open irritation. You took your time, Cambria murmured. Of course she did. Celeste folded her hands. We appreciate you coming. The situation has become complicated. Reginald cleared his throat. Liquidity is strained. The hospitality market has shifted. I sat down slowly. So this is not about Father's health. Their silence was answer enough. Reginald lifted his gaze to mine. We need your cooperation. I leaned back, letting the weight of their need settle between us. Then explain, I said. Celeste exchanged a quick glance with Reginald, then said, There is an investor, Marcus Hawthorne. His firm is prepared to extend a substantial bridge loan to stabilize the Dominion Grand and the remaining properties, Reginald added. But he insists on assurance. He prefers partnerships with families that maintain internal unity. Cambria lifted her chin. He wants someone from within the Locks in a visible role. Dorian smirked. Someone presentable enough to secure confidence. The room tightened around me, invisible threads pulling into shape. I said, You are not asking for representation. You are asking for an exchange. Celeste inhaled softly. Marcus is traditional. He values alignment. A union between you and his firm would guarantee the loan. A union, I repeated. Reginald leaned forward. This is what the family needs. You will meet him. You will consider his proposal. It is time you contribute. My laugh was thin and cold. You cut me out 14 months ago. Now you want to trade me for liquidity. Cambria rolled her eyes. Do not be dramatic. Arya. This is strategy, Dorian added. You should be grateful. This is the first useful thing you could do. I pulled my tablet from my bag and placed it on the table. If we are discussing strategy, then we should use accurate information. Reginald frowned. What are you doing? I tapped the screen, and the financials of Locke International appeared, line by line. Defaults. Covenant breaches. Accelerated notices. Their faces shifted as the truth replaced their delusion. This, I said, sliding the tablet closer to them, is where your strategy truly stands. Reginald stared at the tablet as if the numbers might rearrange themselves into something kinder. These figures are exaggerated, he muttered. We are negotiating extensions. No, I said. You are past extensions. 3 properties have breached covenants. 2 lenders have filed acceleration notices. Locke International is insolvent. Celeste's voice wavered. There must be another option. There was, I replied. 4 months ago. Dorian slammed his hand on the table. Stop pretending you know our business. You travel. You post. You play at working. You do not understand finance. I reached into my bag again, this time pulling out a bound document sealed with a blue ribbon. I slid it across the polished wood. Reginald hesitated before opening it. His eyes moved slowly down the page. Then his face drained of color. These are foreclosure rights, he whispered. Cambria leaned in. From an SPV who? I formed the SPV. I said, I acquired your debt over 9 months. Quietly, deliberately. Silence fell heavy. Celeste's lips parted. Aria, you bought our debt. I met her gaze. I did, and I hold controlling interest. Reginald clutched the folder. Why would you do this? Because, I said softly. You taught me that power belongs to the one holding the ledger. Reginald's voice thinned. Aria, you would not dismantle your own family. I am not dismantling anything, I said. I am deciding what survives. Celeste reached for composure. Then tell us your terms. I placed a new set of documents on the table. Locke International will be absorbed into Nomad Nexus. Effective immediately. I become majority controller. Dorian barked. Absolutely not. It is not a negotiation. I replied. It is the only option that prevents liquidation. Cambria's eyes filled. Not with remorse, but fear. What happens to us? You will work, I said. Real work. Cambria. You will oversee customer experience analytics. Dorian. You will manage cost optimization. Mother. You will hold a legacy advisory title. Father. You will retire and vacate Locke Tower in 30 days. Reginald's hand trembled as he picked up the pen. You are giving us roles? No, I said quietly. I am giving you consequences. One by one. They signed. The room felt smaller once the ink dried. I walked out without ceremony. Later, in my Chelsea loft, a soft notification blinked on my phone. Welcome home, Aria. I opened my old diary and wrote a final line. I built the table I once needed. If parts of this story echoed something in your own life, share where you are listening from. Your voice matters more than you know.